My daughter sent a text message saying they had decided to distance themselves from me. Please do not look for us anymore. Those were the exact words that appeared on my phone screen at 11:30 at night. I was in the kitchen washing the tea mug I had used to try and calm my insomnia. The phone vibrated on the table. I picked it up with wet fingers and read it. I read it twice, 3 times, as if reading it one more time would change what it said. Mom, we decided that we are going to distance ourselves from you. Please do not look for us anymore. Those were not the words of my daughter Sarah. I knew that immediately. I recognized the tone. I recognized that polite cruelty that only one person could possess. David, my son-in-law, the man who entered our family 7 years ago with a perfect smile and promises that now sound like mockery. But there was the detail that broke me. Sarah had agreed to it. She did not write the message, but she allowed it. She approved it. She let her husband speak for her to tell me that they no longer wanted me in their lives. I stood in the middle of the kitchen not knowing what to feel. I expected rage. I expected pain. I expected that knot in the throat that I had felt so many times before when something hurt me deeply. But none of that came. Instead, something colder arrived, clearer, a certainty that settled in my chest like a stone. This was not new. This had been happening for a long time, and I had been too foolish to see it. I wrote my reply without trembling. No problem. I am going to cancel the automatic payments for your house and car. I will let you know when it is done. I pressed send and left the phone on the table. $100 and $200 every month. That was what I paid toward their mortgage. Ever since they moved into that house in the subdivision that they showed off so much on social media. $500 more for the gray SUV that David drove as if it were his by birthright. For years, I had done it without thinking too much, because they were my family, because she was my daughter, because that is how we mothers are. We sustain, we carry, we give without expecting anything in return. But that night, I understood something. They did expect. They expected everything. And when I stopped being useful, when my presence became uncomfortable for their perfect life, they decided to delete me. I poured myself another cup of tea. Even though I knew I was not going to sleep, I sat by the window and looked at the empty street. The streetlights created yellow circles on the wet pavement. It had rained in the afternoon and the air still smelled of damp earth. I tried to remember the last time Sarah came to visit me without excuses, without being in a rush, without that constant glancing at her watch that she always had when she was with me. I could not find that memory. All the recent moments were stained with something I could now name: discomfort, obligation, forced duty. I thought of my granddaughter, Lily, 4 years old, huge eyes, a laugh that filled any room. She used to run toward me every time she saw me, or at least she did before. Because in the last few months, the visits became scarce. There was always a reason. Lily has a fever. We have a commitment. David has to work. Reasons that sounded valid then. But now, under the light of that text message, they showed their true face. They were lies. Polite lies to keep me away without having to tell the truth. They were erasing me. Little by little. They were removing me from their lives like someone erasing a name from a list. The phone vibrated again. It was Sarah. Mom, you do not have to do that. We can talk. I read the message 3 times. We can talk. After telling me to stay away after closing the door on me without giving me a chance to ask what I had done wrong. Now they wanted to talk. Now that the money was at stake. Now that the consequences of their words were becoming real, I did not respond. I left the phone face down. I was not going to beg for a place in my own daughter's life. If they wanted to build their perfect American dream without me, they would do it without my money too. I got up and went to the small study where I kept my important papers. I opened the drawer and took out the folder with the documents, bank statements, transfer receipts, years of payments. I ran my fingers over the papers. $48,000 just in the last 3 years. Just in mortgage and car payments, not counting gifts, not counting emergencies, not counting the money I lent that never came back. $48,000 to be erased with a text message. I sat on the floor with all those papers around me. And there, in the silence of my empty apartment, I finally understood something I should have seen a long time ago. I was not their mother. I was their bank. I was not Lily's grandmother. I was the source of funds that maintained their lifestyle. And when a source dries up or becomes inconvenient, it is abandoned. I looked at the photographs on the wall. Sarah as a child, Sarah at her graduation, Sarah on her wedding day in that white dress that I paid for, David by her side, smiling, always smiling. At what moment did I lose my daughter? At what moment did she stop being mine and become an extension of him? The phone vibrated again. Another message. "Mom, please." David says, "We can fix this." David says they were not even her own words. He spoke for her. He decided for her. He had turned her into a ventriloquist's dummy for his own cruelty. I picked up the phone and wrote a single word. No, that night I did not sleep. I stayed sitting in the armchair watching the darkness slowly turn into a gray dawn. I thought of all the moments I should have seen, the signs of all the times I justified the unjustifiable, because that is what mothers do. We forgive, we forget, we keep giving, even if we no longer receive anything in return. But something had changed in me that night. I was no longer going to be the mother who accepts crumbs. I was no longer going to be the grandmother who waits for calls that never come. I was no longer going to pay for love that clearly did not exist. At 7 a.m. in the morning, I opened my computer. I logged into the banking system. I looked for the automatic payments. Sarah and David's house, Sarah and David's car. My finger hovered over the cancel button. Was I really going to do this? Was I really going to cut that cord that kept me tied to them, even if it was only financially I pressed it? Canceled, canceled. It was over. The following days were strangely silent. I expected more messages, more attempts to convince me, more manipulation disguised as concern, but nothing came. Just silence. As if my decision to cut the money had also cut any interest they had in maintaining contact. That told me everything I needed to know. I started remembering things I had buried in some corner of my mind, small things that at the time I justified, things that now took on a completely different meaning. The first memory came one afternoon while I was making coffee. It was my birthday last year, 63 years old. I had prepared a special dinner, nothing fancy, just my favorite food. I had set the table for 4 people, me, Sarah, David, and little Lily. Sarah had promised to come. Of course, Mom, we will be there. At 7 ogres sharp, I had cooked all afternoon. I made that roast chicken she loved as a child. I made mashed potatoes. I baked a chocolate cake. I put flowers in the center of the table. Flowers I bought with money I should have used for my medication. 7 in the evening, they did not arrive. 7:30, nothing. 8, silence. At 8:15, I got a message. Mom, sorry, Lily has a fever. We're not going to be able to make it. Happy birthday. I stood staring at the set table, the food getting cold, the candles unlit. I told myself that kids get sick, that it was normal, that it was not personal. But 2 days later, I saw the photos on social media. Sarah, David, and Lily at an elegant steakhouse. Everyone smiling. Lily showing no sign of having been sick. The date of the post was the night of my birthday, the same night she supposedly had a fever. They lied to me and I knew it. But I did what I always did. I swallowed it. I justified it. Maybe the post was old. Maybe she felt better quickly. Maybe. Another memory arrived. This one more painful. It was 6 months ago. I had undergone minor surgery. Nothing serious, but I needed someone to pick me up from the hospital. I called Sarah 3 days before to let her know. Mom, of course, I will swing by for you. Do not worry. On the day of the surgery, I waited 2 hours sitting in the recovery room. The nurses kept asking me if they were coming for me. I said yes, that they were on their way. That traffic was probably heavy. I called Sarah. She did not answer. I called again. Nothing. I texted her. Nothing. Finally, a nurse offered to help me call a cab. I went home alone, dizzy from the anesthesia, scared, feeling so small and so invisible. Sarah wrote to me 5 hours later. "Mom, sorry. A work meeting of David's ran late and we couldn't cancel. Did you get home?" Okay. A work meeting of David's. Not even her own meeting. His. And that was more important than picking up her mother from the hospital. I replied, "Yes, I got home fine." Do not worry, always so understanding, always so available to forgive. I remembered last Christmas I had bought gifts for everyone. For Lily, I bought that doll she had asked for, $200. For Sarah, an expensive perfume she had mentioned, $150. For David, a designer shirt, $100. I wrapped them in nice paper. I put bows on them. I took them to their house 2 days before Christmas because they said they were going to spend the holidays with David's family. "But we will see you later, Mom. We will call you." They did not call. I spent Christmas alone watching old movies on television. I ate leftovers from the dinner I prepared with the hope that maybe they would change their minds and come. On New Year's, I got a message. "Happy New Year, Mom. Thanks for the gifts." Lily loved her doll. Thanks for the gifts. Not an apology for leaving me alone. Not an explanation. Just thanks for the gifts. The memories kept coming. Each one was like opening a wound that had healed poorly. Mother's Day, which they forgot until 3 days later. The time I got sick with the flu and they did not come to see me for 2 weeks. The calls I made that went to voicemail. The messages left on read. But the worst was social media, because there they did post. There they did share their life. Photos of outings, of restaurants, of trips, a perfect life built with filters and fake smiles. And I never appeared. Not a single photograph with me. As if I did not exist. As if Lily's grandmother was a ghost. I remembered Lily's birthday 3 months ago. They threw a big party. I knew because I saw it posted. Balloons, clowns, a table full of food, dozens of guests. They did not invite me. When I asked Sarah why she hadn't told me anything, her answer was simple. "Oh, Mom. It was something small, just close family. Close family. I was not close family. I was the grandmother, but I was not close family." That afternoon, I looked at all the photos of the party they posted. I counted 18 adults. David's family. David's friends. David's parents holding Lily, smiling for the camera. I was not there and nobody noticed my absence. Or maybe they did notice it. Maybe it was exactly what they wanted. A celebration without me. I wondered how many other celebrations I had missed without knowing. How many times they met and decided not to invite me. How many times I was the topic of conversation. "Don't tell your mom. Let's not invite your mom. Your mom is too what was I that I deserved this treatment?" I kept remembering. Each memory was a piece of a puzzle that was finally starting to take shape. A clear pattern of exclusion, of lies, of indifference disguised as busyness. The time I needed help moving a heavy piece of furniture, and Sarah said David had to work, but that night I saw them dining at a restaurant, according to their posts. The time I asked if they could accompany me to an important doctor's appointment because I was nervous. "Mom, we have plans just that day, but they never told me what plans." The time I made food and took it to them because Sarah mentioned she was too tired to cook. David opened the door. He took the containers. He thanked me and closed the door. He didn't even let me in. He didn't even offer for me to come in for 5 minutes. All those moments I swallowed in silence that I filed away as misunderstandings, that I forgave because that is a mother's love. But it was not love, it was habit, it was convenience. It was having me available for when they needed me but invisible when they didn't. I realized something terrible. It had been more than a year since I hugged my granddaughter, more than a year since I entered their house, more than a year since our meetings were in neutral places. Fast food, coffee shops, parks where Sarah checked her watch every 10 minutes. They had been pushing me away so gradually that I didn't realize it until I was completely out. And the worst of all, what hurt me the most is that I had paid for my own exile every bank transfer, every expensive gift, every emergency solved with my money. I financed the life they used to exclude me. I paid for the house where I was not welcome. I paid for the car they used to not come see me. I paid for the lifestyle that allowed them to forget about me. That night, I opened an old notebook. I started to write, not for therapy, not to vent. I wrote a list of every lie, every exclusion, every broken promise, every moment. They made me feel like a burden. The list filled 3 pages. 3 pages of evidence that my daughter had stopped being my daughter a long time ago, and I had been too blind to see it. I spent a whole week without leaving my apartment. It was not depression. It was something different. It was clarity, a clarity so intense it almost hurt. I sat in front of the window every morning with my coffee and watched the world go on. People went to work. Children went to school. Life continued as always. But I had changed. Something inside me had broken, or maybe it had been fixed. I wasn't sure yet. Sarah did not write again after that. We can talk. David didn't either. The silence was deafening and revealing. It confirmed what I already knew. Without money, there was no reason to maintain contact. One afternoon, the doorbell rang. My heart gave a stupid jump. I thought maybe it was Sarah. That maybe she had come to talk for real, to explain, to apologize. It was the mailman with a package I had ordered the previous week. Nothing more. I laughed at myself. I still had hope. After all, after seeing the pattern so clearly, a part of me still hoped that my daughter would appear at that door. That hope was dangerous. I knew it. But I couldn't extinguish it completely. Not yet. I started doing something I had never done before. I reviewed my finances completely, not just the payments to Sarah and David. Everything, every expense, every income, every dollar that came in and went out of my life. The numbers left me frozen. My pension was $300 a month. Additionally, I worked part-time at a fabric store, earning another $600, $900 in total. Of those $900, I paid $800 for rent on my apartment, $200 for utilities, $300 for food for myself, $100 for transportation, $150 for medication because I had high blood pressure and thyroid problems. That left $350. But I was paying $700 between their house and car. The numbers didn't add up. How had I been doing this? Where did the missing money come from? I looked further back. I found the answer: credit cards. 3 credit cards that I'd been filling up little by little. A debt of $18,000 that grew every month with interest I couldn't pay. I had gone into debt to support them to pay for their comfortable life, while I ate beans and rice most of the month, while I stopped buying new clothes, while I postponed fixing the tooth that hurt because the dentist cost too much. $18,000 of debt. For a daughter who sent me a message telling me to stay away, I felt something break inside me. But it wasn't sadness. It was rage. A cold and calculated rage I had never felt before. They had used me completely, and I had allowed it. Even worse, I had gone into debt so they could keep using me. That night, I made a decision. I was not going to continue being a victim. I was not going to keep crying for crumbs of attention. I was not going to keep waiting for my daughter to remember she had a mother. But I wasn't going to scream either. I wasn't going to make a scene. I wasn't going to beg for explanations. I was going to observe. I was going to wait. I was going to see what they did now that the money was cut off. The first 3 days, nothing happened. On the 4th day, I received a call. Not from Sarah, from David. I let it ring until it went to voicemail. I listened to the message. "Margaret, we need to talk." I think there was a misunderstanding. "Sarah is very affected by all this. Call me when you can. It's important." His voice was smooth, conciliatory. the voice of someone who knows they need something and is willing to fake whatever is necessary to get it. I did not return the call. The next day, another call, another message. Margaret, we really need to resolve this. We are family. We cannot let pride separate us. Pride. He blamed me for pride as if I had been the one who sent the rejection message, as if I had been the one who put up the walls. I didn't return that call either. On the third day, Sarah called. This time, I did answer. I needed to hear her voice. I needed to confirm something. Mom, tell me. Mom, why aren't you answering David's calls? He's worried. I have nothing to talk about with David. There was a pause. I could hear her breathing. Mom, I know things got difficult, but we can't go on like this. What is it that we can't go on with Sarah? Another pause longer. This fight, this distance. You asked for distance. I only respected it. It wasn't literal. Mom, you didn't have to cancel everything. There it was. The real problem, not the emotional distance, the money. Do you miss me or do you miss the payments? Mom, that's not fair. Not fair. What part isn't fair, Sarah? The part where you told me to stay away, or the part where you expected me to keep paying even though you didn't want me around. It's not like that. You don't understand. Explain it to me then. Explain to me how I should understand it. Silence. A long and heavy silence. David says, what I don't want to know what David says. I want to know what you say with your own words without him telling you what to think. It's not like that, Mom. You're exaggerating. You wrote that message. What? The message where you told me to stay away. You wrote it. David wrote it. But I agreed. Why? Because things were complicated. What things, Mom? I can't talk about this right now. David is here. David is always there. David always has something to say. But you, Sarah, what do you want? I want things to go back to normal. Normal was me paying for everything and you seeing me when it was convenient for you. It's not like that. When was the last time you came to see me without needing something silence again? When was the last time you invited me to your house? Nothing. When was the last time you let me see my granddaughter for more than 30 minutes, Mom? Enough. You're right. Enough. That's why I canceled everything. You can't do this. I already did. Mom, we depend on that help. We can't pay for the house without you. She stopped herself. She realized what she had just said. But it was too late. I had already heard it. We depend on that help, not on me, on the help on the money. That was what mattered to them. I understand perfectly, Sarah. No, wait. I didn't mean. Yes, you did. And it's okay. Now is exactly where we stand. Mom, please, we can fix this. It's already fixed. You have your distance. I have my money. Everything is in order. This is David's fault, right? Do you think he manipulates me? Does he manipulate you? No. He takes care of me. He knows what is best for us. Those words hurt me more than the original message. My daughter had disappeared. In her place was a woman who let her husband think for her, decide for her, keep her away from her own mother. If he knows what is best, then you don't need me. Mom, take care, Sarah. I hung up before she could respond, before she could keep trying to manipulate me with guilt, before my own voice cracked. I stayed sitting with the phone in my hand. I was trembling, but not from fear or sadness. It was from contained rage, from years of swallowing everything, from decades of putting others first. Something had changed in that call. Sarah had said it clearly. We depend on that help. It wasn't that they missed me. It was that they missed my money and David. That man had absolute control over my daughter. Sarah couldn't even have a conversation with me without mentioning him, without him being there, without asking for his approval. When had this happened? When had my independent daughter turned into an echo of her husband? I started thinking about David more carefully, about how he had entered our lives, about how everything had changed after him. Sarah was different before. We talked every day. She visited me. She included me in her life. And then David arrived, handsome, charming, with that smile that seemed perfect. At first, everything was fine. But little by little things changed. The visits became spaced out. The calls got shorter, and when they needed something from me, it was always David, who casually mentioned how much life cost, how much a little support would help. I gave because I thought I was helping my daughter, but now I saw the truth. I wasn't helping my daughter. I was financing my own arrangement. That night, I didn't sleep well. I had strange dreams. In one of them, David appeared with another face, a face I didn't recognize. In another, Sarah was crying, but I couldn't reach her. I woke up at 5:00 in the morning with a cold certainty installed in my chest. Something wasn't right with David. Something beyond being controlling or manipulative. There was something about him that didn't fit. Something I had ignored because I wanted to believe my daughter was happy. I decided I was going to investigate. I didn't know what I was looking for yet, but I was going to find it. 3 days after that call with Sarah, I received a visit that would change everything. It was a Tuesday afternoon. I was organizing old papers, trying to keep my mind occupied on something other than my daughter's absence. The doorbell rang. This time, I wasn't expecting anything. I opened the door and found a man of about 50 years old standing there. Gray suit, black briefcase. Serious expression but not threatening. Mrs. Margaret Moniz. Yes, that's me. My name is Frank Miller. I am a private investigator. May I come in? I have important information about your son-in-law, David. My heart stopped for a second. Private investigator information about David, who had hired an investigator. Who sent you? No one sent me to you specifically, but I have information that I think you should know. Please, I only asked for 10 minutes. Something in his look made me trust him. Or maybe it was that I was already looking for answers, and he appeared with them. I let him in. We sat in the small living room. He put the briefcase on his knees but didn't open it yet. Mrs. Muniz, how long have you known David? 7 years since he started dating my daughter. What do you know about his life before meeting Sarah? I stopped to think. The truth is, I knew very little. David had always been vague about his past. He said his family lived far away, that he didn't have much contact with them, that he had worked various jobs before settling down. Not much, I admitted, but it never seemed important. He seemed like a good man. Frank nodded as if he expected that answer. Mrs. Muniz, David is not who he says he is, or rather, he has a past that he has carefully hidden. He opened the briefcase and took out a folder. He put it on the table between us. 6 months ago, a lady named Barbara Jenkins hired me to investigate David. Barbara is the mother of a woman named Emily. David was married to Emily 9 years ago. Married. The word came out of my mouth like a whisper. But Sarah is his first wife. He told us he had never been married before. He lied. David was married to Emily for 3 years. They lived in another city. He did exactly the same thing. He got close to a family, convinced Emily that he was the perfect man. Little by little, he isolated her from her mother. He convinced Barbara to invest in businesses that never existed. He asked her for loans access to bank accounts. I felt the air escaping from my lungs. And what happened? One day, he disappeared. He took all the money he could. He left Emily with nothing, with debts that were not hers. Barbara lost her life savings. $60,000. $60,000. The figure resonated in my head. I had given him almost $50,000 in 3 years. Was David going to disappear too? Was that his plan? Why are you coming to tell me this now? Because I have been following David for months. Barbara wants justice. She wants to recover some of what she lost. But above all, she wants him not to do the same to another family. When I discovered that he had married again, that he had a daughter, that there was another older woman who was probably helping them financially, I knew I had to warn you. He took another paper from the folder, a photograph. This is David with Emily. 10 years ago, I looked at the photograph. It was him younger, but it was him. The same smile, the same eyes. Next to him, a pretty dark-haired woman. They looked happy, just like Sarah and David in their photos. There is more, Frank continued. David is not really named David. His real name is Robert Vance. He has used several names, several aliases. He is a professional con artist. He specializes in vulnerable women and their families. He builds trust. He gets married. He isolates the woman from her family. He gets access to the money. And when there is nothing left to take, he disappears. Robert Vance. Even his name wasn't real. The man who had been in my house, who had held my granddaughter, who called me Mom with that perfect smile. He was a professional liar. My daughter is in danger. Not physically. David is not violent, but she is in financial and emotional danger. He probably already has debts in her name. He probably already has access to everything she owns. And when he feels he can't get any more, he will leave. He will leave Sarah destroyed without money, probably with enormous debts. And she won't even know what happened until it is too late. I put my hands to my face. My daughter, my little girl, was trapped with a con artist, with a professional liar, and I hadn't seen anything. How did I not realize? Because he is very good at what he does. He has been doing this for years. Barbara didn't realize either until it was too late. The mother before Barbara didn't either. I found 2 other cases. David has done this at least 5 times that I know of. 5 times. 5 destroyed families, and mine was the 6th. What can I do? Frank leaned forward. We need solid proof of fraud documents, bank transfers, anything that proves he obtained money through deception. I have information from the previous cases, but I need to connect it to what he is doing now. Do you have access to financial documents, contracts? Something he has signed? I thought quickly. I have the receipts for the transfers I made. I have some emails where he mentioned emergencies needs. It was always him who wrote asking for help, even though it came in Sarah's name. That works. Anything else? House documents. Car. The house and the car are in both their names, Sarah and David, but I paid directly. I have all the bank statements. Perfect. I need copies of everything. I also need you to tell me everything you remember about what your relationship with David was like every time he asked for money, every promise he made, every lie that seems suspicious to you now. We spent the next 2 hours going over everything. I told him about the progressive distancing, about how David was always present when Sarah talked to me about how the requests for money increased, but the visits decreased. Frank took notes meticulously. All this fits his pattern. He isolates the victim from her family of origin, especially from maternal figures, because they are the ones most likely to notice that something is wrong. He maintains the flow of money but reduces personal contact to prevent discovery. And the message, the one they sent me, telling me to stay away, that is new. In the previous cases, he wasn't so direct. It probably means he is in the final phase, that he is already preparing his exit. He wanted to cut off contact completely so that when he disappears, you cannot intervene quickly. But then I canceled the payments. That ruined his plan. Probably. That's why David is calling you. He needs the money to keep flowing a little longer while he finishes preparing his escape. My estimate is that he has between 2 and 4 weeks before disappearing. 2 to 4 weeks. My daughter had less than a month before her life exploded into pieces. I have to warn her. I have to tell Sarah. Frank shook his head. If you tell her now, David will know immediately. He has her so controlled that she will probably tell him everything. He will deny it. He will say, it is a lie that you are trying to separate them, and then he will disappear before we can build a solid case. Sarah will be left without any way to recover anything. So what do? Let him continue with her. We let him think he is in control. Meanwhile, we gather evidence. We build a case. And when we have everything, we confront him in a way he cannot escape. With police, with lawyers, in a way that Sarah has to see the truth, even if she doesn't want to. I felt a knot in my stomach. The idea of leaving my daughter with that man one more day turned my insides. But Frank was right. If I acted on impulse, David would disappear, and Sarah would never believe me. How much time do you need? Give me a week, maybe 2. I need to verify some things. Talk to Barbara and the other victims. Prepare solid documentation. Can you do that? Can you wait without saying anything to Sarah? I nodded, even though every fiber of my being wanted to run to my daughter's house and get her out of there. Frank took a card from his briefcase. This is my number. Call me if anything urgent happens. If David does something suspicious, if Sarah comes to see you anything. And please do not tell anyone else about this yet. Why are you helping me? Barbara is paying for this. Barbara reopened the initial investigation. But this is no longer just work. I have seen what this man does. I have seen the families he destroys, the women he leaves broken. If I can stop him this time, if I can prevent another family from going through the same thing Barbara went through, then it is worth it. He stood up to leave. At the door, he stopped. Mrs. Moniz, your daughter, is lucky to have you even though she doesn't see it now. You are saving her. I closed the door after he left and stood in the hallway. My legs were trembling. I sat on the floor with my back against the wall. My son-in-law was a liar, a con artist, a man who had destroyed families before and was about to destroy mine. And my daughter had no idea. She was so blind, so controlled, that she would probably defend David if I told her the truth. I looked at the folder Frank had left on the table, full of evidence of stories of other women, of other mothers, who had gone through exactly the same thing as me. I felt something grow inside me. It wasn't just rage. It was determination, a cold and calculated determination. David had chosen the wrong family this time because I was not going to let him get away with it. I was not going to let him destroy my daughter and disappear into the night. I was going to stop him, and I was going to do it right. The following days were the hardest of my life. Knowing the truth and not being able to do anything with it was consuming me from the inside. Every time the phone rang, my heart raced, thinking it might be Sarah saying David had disappeared. Frank called me on the 3rd day. I need you to come to my office. There is someone who wants to meet you. I took 2 buses to get there. Frank's office was in an old building downtown. 3rd floor, no elevator. When I entered, there was a woman sitting waiting. She looked about 60, gray hair tied back, tired but determined eyes. Margaret. This is Barbara Jenkins. The woman stood up and extended her hand. I took it. Her fingers were cold. I am sorry you have to go through this, Barbara said. Her voice trembled slightly. I know exactly how it feels. The 3 of us sat down. Frank put a box on the desk. Barbara brought more documentation things she hadn't shown me before because they were very personal. But when she knew David had done the same thing again, she decided it was necessary. Barbara opened the box. It was full of papers, photographs, receipts, letters. My daughter Emily was a smart woman, Barbara began. She worked as a nurse. She had her own apartment, she was independent, and then she met David or Robert or whatever he really calls himself. She took out a photograph, Emily smiling next to David. They looked in love like Sarah and David in their photos. At first, everything was perfect. He was charming, attentive. He treated her like a queen. 6 months later, they got married. I thought it was fast, but Emily was happy. Who was I to say anything? Her voice cracked a little. She took a breath before continuing. Shortly after, the changes began. Emily stopped visiting me as much. When I called her, David was always there, always on speakerphone, always listening. When I asked if we could talk alone, Emily said there were no secrets between them. I knew that story. It was mine. It was Sarah's story. Then the requests for money started. First small ones, a loan to fix the car, $500. Then to pay an unexpected debt, $1,000. Then to invest in a business David was starting, $5,000. Barbara took out bank documents, transfers, checks, everything documented meticulously. In 2 years, I gave him $43,000. I sold my mother's house that I had inherited. I emptied my retirement savings. All because I believed I was helping my daughter build her future. And the business I asked it never existed. Nothing David said was real. The papers he showed me were fake. The addresses were empty buildings. The partners he mentioned didn't exist. Everything was a lie. Frank intervened. I have verified the documents. David has experience in forgery. He has created shell companies, fake legal documents. It is part of his methodology. Everything looks legitimate until you investigate thoroughly. Barbara continued. One day, I went to visit Emily without warning. Something told me I needed to see her. When I arrived at the house, it was empty, completely empty. The neighbors told me they had left 2 days before. A moving truck took everything. She didn't tell you. Nothing. Not a call, not a message. I tried to contact her for weeks. Her phone was disconnected. Her social media deleted. It was as if she had disappeared from the planet. Tears began to roll down her cheeks. 3 months later, I received a call from a hospital. Emily was there alone, destroyed. David had left her in another city without money, without a job, with $30,000 in credit card debt that he had taken out in her name. I felt my stomach turn. That was what awaited Sarah. How is Emily now? She is alive. She is working, but she has never been the same. The depression almost killed her. She had to declare bankruptcy. She lost years rebuilding her life. And the relationship with me was also damaged. She blamed me for not having seen the signs, for having trusted David, even though I was also a victim. Frank put another folder on the table. There are more cases. I have found 4 more, besides Emily. All similar stories, all with the same pattern. He opened the folder. More photographs, more documents, more women who had believed in David, more destroyed families. This is Tanya. David was with her 12 years ago. He got $22,000 out of her before disappearing. This is Jessica. 15 years ago, $35,000. Before that, there are indications of at least 2 more cases, but I don't have complete documentation. I looked at the photographs. All different women, but all with the same expression in the photos with David. Happiness, trust, love. How is it possible that he keeps doing this? Why has no one stopped him? Because he is careful. Frank explained. He changes cities. He changes names. He waits a few years between each case. And above all, he knows how to manipulate the legal system. Technically, what he does might not be completely illegal. They are family loans, voluntary investments. There are no contracts that say he must return the money. The debts are in the women's names, but they signed them voluntarily even if they didn't know what they were signing. So we can't do anything legally. I didn't say that. We can, but we need proof of intentional fraud. We need to prove he used fake identities, that he forged documents, that he planned everything from the beginning. With that, we can go to the police. We can build a criminal fraud case. Barbara leaned forward. That is why we need your help, Margaret. You still have access. You can still get information. If you work with us, we can stop him before he does to Sarah, what he did to Emily. What do you need me to do? Frank took out a list. First, I need you to document everything. Every interaction with David, every request for money, every promise he made. Second, if possible, I need you to get access to documents, house papers, car papers, any contract David has signed. Third, I need you to maintain contact. Do not cut it off completely. If he suspects we are investigating him, he will disappear. You want me to talk to them again after everything I know. It is difficult, but it is the only way. If you can resume contact without raising suspicions, we can buy time. Barbara took my hand. I know what I am asking of you. I know it hurts, but think of your daughter. Think of your granddaughter. If David disappears now, Sarah will be left with all the debts, with the house she can't pay for, with destroyed credit, and probably pregnant, or with another child that David will have used to tie her down more. That last part hit me. Pregnant. It is part of his pattern. Emily was pregnant when he disappeared. She lost the baby from the stress. Tanya was also pregnant. David uses children as a form of control, as a way to get more money, as a way to make families invest more in the relationship. I felt like I couldn't breathe. Sarah could be pregnant. David could be planning to leave her with another child, with more responsibilities, with more debts. I will do whatever is necessary. Frank nodded. Good. So this is what we are going to do. You are going to call Sarah. You are going to say you have thought things over, that maybe you reacted badly, that you want to talk. You are not going to mention anything about money yet. You just want to reconnect. And if David suspects, David is going to think he won. He is going to think you broke, that you need your family more than you need your money. He is going to lower his guard. And when he does, we are going to get what we need. We spent the next 2 hours planning every detail. Frank gave me a small burner phone. Use this to communicate with me, not from your normal phone. David could be checking Sarah's messages. If she has access to your phone, he does too. Barbara gave me a hug before leaving. Thank you for doing this. I know she is your daughter, and it must be horrible. But you are saving her. Even if she doesn't know it now, you are saving her. That night, I sat in front of my phone for an hour before dialing. I rehearsed what I was going to say, how I was going to sound. I had to be convincing. I had to make Sarah believe I had given in. Finally, I dialed. Sarah answered on the third ring. Mom. Hello, my love. We can talk. There was a pause. Of course. Wait, I heard movement, a door closing. Okay, I'm alone. She was lying. I bet David was there listening. But I kept going. I have been thinking a lot about everything, about the message, about what happened, and I think maybe I reacted badly. Really? Her voice sounded hopeful, almost desperate. Really, you are my daughter. Lily is my granddaughter. I don't want to lose you over pride. Oh, Mom, I don't want that either. I miss you so much. Could we see each other? Maybe this week I could make the food you like, or if you prefer, I can come see you. Yes. Yes, I would love that. Let me talk to David and I will confirm what day. There it was. Let me talk to David. She couldn't even accept an invitation from her mother without his permission. Perfect, my love. I love you. I love you too, Mom. I hung up and stared at the phone. The trap was set. Now I just had to wait for David to bite the hook. Sarah called me the next day. Mom, how about Saturday? We can come to your house for lunch. David wants to talk to you too. He says we need to clear everything up as a family. Of course David wanted to talk. He wanted to make sure the money started flowing again. He wanted to control the conversation. He wanted to manipulate me face to face. That sounds perfect, my love. What time? 1 hour was fine. Perfect, I'll wait for you here. When I hung up, I called Frank from the phone he had given me. They are coming on Saturday. David, Sarah, and the girl. Excellent. Now listen carefully. During that meal, you need to do several things. First, keep calm. Be nice, but not too nice. You have to seem like you gave in, but with dignity. Second, observe everything David does and says. Every detail matters. Third, if possible, get David to sign something. Anything. A receipt for money borrowed, a thank you note, something with his signature. And how do I do that without raising suspicions? Tell him your accountant needs documentation for taxes that the bank asked to justify the large transfers. Invent something that sounds bureaucratic and boring. David will want to cooperate to keep you calm. I spent the next 3 days preparing everything. It wasn't just a meal, it was an operation. Every detail had to be perfect. I cooked the roast chicken, and Sarah liked. I made rice and beans, fresh salad. I made flan for dessert because it was Lily's favorite. I set the table with the nice tablecloth I used only on special occasions. But I also prepared other things, documents I needed David to sign a simple receipt that said, I acknowledge having received financial assistance from Margaret Munn for a total of $48,000 over the last 3 years for housing and transportation expenses. I drafted it to look like just an administrative formality, nothing threatening. I also prepared my phone. Frank had taught me how to activate the recorder discreetly. Everything said at that meal would be recorded. Saturday arrived. I got up early even though I had slept little. Nerves had kept me awake since 5 in the morning. I showered. I dressed in simple but presentable clothes. I put on light makeup. I needed to look like the loving mother who had given in, not the woman investigating her son-in-law. At 1:00 sharp, the doorbell rang. I breathed deeply. I opened the door. Sarah entered first with Lily by the hand. The girl ran toward me. Grandma. I picked her up and hugged her. Her small, warm body against mine reminded me why I was doing all this. For her, for Sarah, for the family we could still be if I managed to get David out of our lives. Hello, my love. How have you been? Good. You made flaw. Of course I did. David entered behind Sarah. He was carrying a bottle of wine. Perfect smile. Margaret, thanks for having us. I know things have been tense. It was hard to look at him knowing what I knew, seeing that face I had seen in photographs with other women, hearing that voice that had lied to so many families. But I smiled. Come in, David. Lunch is almost ready. We sat at the table. Lily between Sarah and me. David across. I served the food while we made superficial conversation. The weather, traffic, unimportant things. David ate with appetite. You cook deliciously, Margaret. Sarah always says no one cooks like you. It's the love I put into it, I replied, looking at Sarah. She smiled a tired smile. I noticed circles under her makeup. She had lost weight. She looked exhausted. After the meal, while Lily played in the living room with some toys I had kept from when Sarah was a child, the moment came to talk. David cleared his throat. Margaret, I want you to know I am very sorry about how things turned out. The message you received didn't really reflect what we felt. Liar. I knew every word of that message had been calculated, but I nodded as if I believed him. I wrote it. He continued, and maybe I was too harsh, but it's just that Sarah was very stressed. She felt there was a lot of pressure, a lot of expectation, and I thought maybe a little space would be good for all of us. Pressure from what I asked softly. Sarah intervened. Mom, you have always been so generous, so present. Sometimes I felt I couldn't measure up, that I owed you so much I could never pay you back. There it was. David's script coming out of Sarah's mouth. He had convinced her that my love was a debt. My help was pressure. My presence was a burden. My love, I never expected you to pay me back anything. I did it because you are my daughter, because I wanted to help. I know. But even so, sometimes it is difficult. Her voice cracked a little. David put his hand on her shoulder, a gesture that seemed comforting, but I now viewed as control. I understand, I said. And I respect that you need your space, but canceling the payments was my way of respecting that distance. If you didn't want my presence, it didn't seem right to stay financially involved. David tensed slightly. There it was. The real reason for this visit about that, he said with a careful voice. We understand your point, but the reality is that those payments were part of our budget. We counted on them. Canceling them so suddenly put us in a complicated situation. Complicated how we have commitments, the mortgage, the car, Lily's expenses. My business is at a stage where I need to invest everything I earn. I can't divert funds now. His business. Frank had told me no business existed. It was just another lie to justify why he never had his own money. And what do you propose? David leaned forward. Look, I understand you felt hurt. You have the right, but we are family. Families support each other. If you could consider reinstating the payments, at least temporarily, while we stabilize things, we would appreciate it very much. And of course, we are going to make a better effort to keep in contact. More visits, more calls, more visits in exchange for more money. The deal was clear. And surely the visits would last only until the money flowed again. Afterwards, we would return to the same pattern. I need to think about it, I said. It has been a difficult few weeks for me, too. But before making any decision, there is something I need. What thing? David asked. My accountant called me. He says he needs documentation of the large transfers I have made for tax purposes. I need you to sign a simple document confirming the amounts I have given you and what they were for. I saw a flash of something in David's eyes. Suspicion, worry. But he recovered quickly. Sure, no problem. Do you have the document? I went to my room and took out the paper I had prepared. I passed it to him with a pen. David read it. His eyes scanned every line. I could see his mind working, calculating if signing it was dangerous. It is a lot of money, he said finally. $48,000 in 3 years. Yes, it is. I hadn't realized it was so much. Liar. He knew exactly how much it was. Probably had calculated it down to the last cent. Is there any problem signing? I asked with a calm voice. No, it's just that. This is for your accountant, right? It's not going anywhere else, just for my files. As I said, they are tax requirements, nothing more. David looked at Sarah. She nodded slightly. He took the pen and signed his full name, David Solis. Another lie captured on paper, but it was his signature, his acknowledgement of the money received. Thank you, I said carefully, putting the paper away. Now let me think about the other thing. I can't promise you anything yet, but I am going to consider it. How much time do you need? David's voice had a tone of urgency he tried to disguise. A week, maybe 2. I need to check my finances too, see what is possible. He didn't like that answer, but he couldn't push more without showing desperation. The rest of the visit was more relaxed. We played with Lily, we drank coffee, we ate flaw. Sarah told me about Lily's school, about her new words, her new games. We talked like a normal family, but I couldn't forget the performance, the lies under every word, the manipulation under every one of David's smiles. When they left, Sarah hugged me at the door. Thanks, Mom, for giving this another chance. Always, my love. Always. David gave me a hug too, brief calculated. See you soon, Margaret. I closed the door and waited until I heard the car pull away. Then I took out the phone Frank had given me and called him. How did it go? I have the signature. He acknowledges the $48,000. And the whole conversation was recorded. Perfect. Did you notice anything suspicious? He hesitated before signing. He asked several times what the document was for. He is nervous. Good. That means he knows he is on dangerous ground. He mentioned something about leaving travel changes. Not directly, but he talked about his business that he needs to invest everything there. That could be his excuse to justify moving money. Exactly. He is probably preparing his exit. I'm going to speed up the investigation. We have to move fast. That night, I didn't sleep. I stayed awake listening to the recording over and over again. David's voice, his smooth lies, the way he manipulated every situation, the way he had turned my daughter into his puppet. But now I had something he didn't expect. I had proof. I had his signature. I had his voice admitting dependence on the money, and I had a plan. David thought he had won. He thought I had softened, that soon the money would flow again. And everything would return to his control. He didn't know that every move he made now was being documented, every word analyzed, every lie cataloged. The trap was closing, and he had no idea. Frank called me 2 days after the lunch. Margaret, I need you to come to the office. We have everything ready. When I arrived, I found Frank with 2 other men. One wore a formal suit and carried a briefcase. The other was in a police uniform. Margaret, this is Detective Tom Chavez, and this is the lawyer handling Barbara's case against David. We sat around Frank's table. There were folders everywhere, documents, photographs, years of evidence against a man who had ruined lives. Detective Chavez spoke first. Mrs. Moon, we have been building a case against the man you know as David for several months. With the information you have provided, we finally have enough to act. What did you find David, whose real name is Robert Vance, has a history going back 15 years, 6 different identities. 8 victims we have been able to document. Forgery of documents, fraud, identity theft, tax evasion. The list is long. He put photographs on the table. David with different names in different cities with different women. Always the same smile. Always the same strategy. The most serious thing is that we found something recent. David has been taking out loans in Sarah's name. 3 credit cards she doesn't know exist. Total of $42,000 in debt. I felt the air leave me. $42,000 and rising. Interest accumulates daily. He also mortgaged the house without Sarah knowing. He forged her signature on the documents. He took out $70,000 that are no longer in any account we can trace. $70,000. My daughter was ruined and didn't even know it. When is he going to leave? Our analysis suggests in less than 2 weeks. He has been selling things, furniture, electronics, everything he can turn into cash without raising suspicions. He has also been looking for plane tickets. We found searches on his computer for flights to South America. And Sarah, is he taking her? The detective shook his head. No. According to the pattern, David disappears alone. He leaves the woman and children behind. He will probably invent an emergency, a work trip, something that sounds urgent, and he simply won't come back. My granddaughter Lily is going to stay with her mother. David doesn't take the children. They are part of the anchor part of what keeps the women busy and without resources to search for him. The lawyer took the floor. Mrs. Munn, this is what we are going to do tomorrow. We are going to file formal charges against Robert Vance, alias David Solis. We are going to ask for an arrest warrant, and we are going to execute it at his house in front of Sarah, in front of her. We cannot arrest him anywhere else. I understand you want to protect her from the trauma, but Sarah needs to see this. She needs to see the police taking David away. She needs to hear the charges. She needs the illusion to break completely. Otherwise, he will find a way to contact her from wherever he is and will convince her that it is an injustice, that you planned it all, that he is the victim. Frank nodded. I have seen this before. If Sarah doesn't see with her own eyes that David is arrested legally, with real charges, with solid evidence, her mind will seek ways to justify it. She will want to believe him. She will want to think there is an explanation, and after the arrest afterwards, you will be there for her. The detective said she will need you. She will be angry, confused. She will probably blame you at first, but with time, when she processes everything, she will understand that you saved her. When is it going to be? Tomorrow at 9 a.m. David is usually home at that time. We need you to be there too. Me. Why? Because Sarah is going to need someone when this happens. She will be in shock. She will need someone to take charge of Lily while we process David. That someone has to be you. I spent that night without sleeping. I knew what was coming was going to break my daughter into 1,000 pieces. It was going to destroy the life she thought she had. It was going to force her to face that the last 7 years had been a lie. But I also knew it was the only way to save her. At 8 a.m, I arrived at Sarah's house. I knocked on the door. David opened. He seemed surprised to see me. Margaret, we didn't expect you. I came to talk to Sarah about what we discussed on Saturday. Ah, sure, come in. Sarah was in the kitchen preparing Lily's breakfast. Mom, what a surprise. Good morning, my love. Can we talk? Sure, sit down. Do you want coffee, please? David stayed in the living room, but I could feel his attention on us, trying to listen, trying to control the situation even from afar. So, did you think about what we talked about? Sarah asked with hope in her voice. Before I could answer, the doorbell rang, loud, insistent. David went to open it. I heard voices, loud, authoritative. Robert Vance. No, you are mistaken. I am David Solis. We have an arrest warrant for Robert Vance. We have confirmation that represents your real identity. You have the right to remain silent. Sarah jumped up. What is happening? She ran to the door. I followed her. In the doorway were 3 police officers. One of them was Detective Chavez. They had David or Robert handcuffed. What are you doing? Let him go. There is a mistake, Sarah shouted. Ma'am, your husband is being arrested for fraud, forgery, identity theft, and other charges. He has the right to get a lawyer. No, this is a mistake. David, tell them. David looked at me. In his eyes, I saw something I had never seen before. Pure hate. He knew I was behind this. He knew I had caught him. Sarah, listen to me, he said with a calm voice. Too calm. This is a misunderstanding. Your mother is behind this. She planned everything because she doesn't want us to be happy. Don't believe them anything. No, Sarah screamed. Mom, tell them to stop. Tell them this is a mistake. Detective Chavez pulled out a folder. Ma'am, your husband's name is not David Solis. His name is Robert Vance. He has used 6 different names in the last 15 years. He has scammed 8 families, and he has $40,000 of debt in your name that you probably don't know exists. That is a lie. David said, Sarah, don't believe them. It's a trap. He also mortgaged your house without your knowledge. He forged your signature. He took out $70,000 that disappeared. And we have evidence that he planned to abandon you and your daughter in less than 2 weeks. Sarah looked at me, her eyes full of tears of confusion, of pain. Mom, what did you do? I saved you, I said with a firm voice. Even if you don't see it now, I saved you. No, you destroyed my life. You destroyed my family. David was led toward the police car. He kept talking. Sarah, don't believe them. Get a lawyer. I did nothing wrong. Your mother is lying. Barbara is lying. They are all lying. Barbara. He had said Barbara's name. Sarah heard it. Who is Barbara? No one answered. David was already in the car. The doors closed. They took him away. Sarah collapsed on the floor, crying, screaming. Lily came out of her room, scared by the noise. Mommy, why are you crying? I knelt next to Sarah. I tried to hug her, but she pushed me away. Don't touch me, don't touch me. What did you do? Lily started crying too. I picked her up. I hugged her even though she resisted wanting to go to her mother. Detective Chavez approached. Mrs. Mooney, here are the documents. Everything your daughter needs to know is there. Case numbers, evidence, contacts. When she is ready to read, everything is documented. He passed a folder to Sarah. She didn't even look at it. She just cried with her face in her hands. The police left. The house fell silent except for Sarah's crying and Lily's sobs. Sarah, my love, look at me. Leave. Get out of my house. I am not going to leave you alone now. I hate you. You ruined everything. He ruined it. Years ago, I just stopped him from continuing. You're lying. David loves me. He loves us. David doesn't exist. That man's name is Robert. And he has done this to 8 other women before you. No, it's not true. I picked up the folder from the floor. I opened it. I took out the photographs. Robert, with different names, with different women, with different families. Look at them. Sarah looked up. She saw the photographs. Her face changed. The denial began to crack. This is Emily. He was married to her 9 years ago. He took $60,000 from her family and left her with $30,000 in debt. This is Tanya. This is Jessica. This is another one. All believed he loved them. All believed they were special. Sarah took the photographs with trembling hands. She looked at them one by one. Tears fell on the paper. No, it can't be. It is real, my love. Everything is real. And you were going to be the next on the list. But I love him. We have a daughter. We have a life. He doesn't love you. He never loved you. He only used you like he used all the others. Sarah folded over herself. A sound came out of her throat. It wasn't crying, it was something deeper. It was the sound of a soul breaking. I sat on the floor next to her with Lily still in my arms, and I waited. I waited for the shock to pass. I waited for reality to settle in. I waited for my daughter to need me. Hours passed. Lily eventually fell asleep in my arms. Sarah kept crying until she had no tears left, until only dry and silent sobs remained. Finally, she spoke. Her voice was barely a whisper. How long did you know? 2 weeks. Why didn't you tell me immediately? Because you wouldn't have believed me. Because he had you so controlled that you would have defended every lie. You needed to see the evidence. You needed the police to arrest him. You needed it to be undeniable. I have debts I don't know about. $42,000 in credit cards. He mortgaged the house. $70,000 that are gone. And all the money you gave me disappeared too. Probably in accounts we can't trace. Sarah closed her eyes. I am ruined. No, you are alive. You are free. And I am going to help you rebuild everything. I don't want your help. Your help was what got me into this. Those words hurt, but I understood them. Sarah needed to blame someone. And I was easier to blame than facing that she had lived a lie for 7 years. It's okay. When you are ready, I will be here. I got up carefully not to wake Lily. I put her in her bed. I went back to the living room. Sarah was still on the floor with the photographs scattered around. I'm going to stay tonight on the sofa. In case you need me. She didn't answer, but she didn't ask me to leave either. That night, lying on my daughter's sofa, I heard her sobs from her room. Every sound was a reminder of the pain I had caused to save her. But it was also proof that she was alive, that she was there, that we still had a chance to rebuild what David had destroyed. The truth had exploded, and now we had to live in the rubble. The first days after the arrest were the darkest. Sarah barely spoke, barely ate. She moved through the house like a ghost. I stayed there. I prepared food she didn't touch. I took care of Lily, who asked for her daddy every hour. Where is Daddy? Daddy had to go away. My love, when is he coming back? There was no easy answer for that question. On the third day, Sarah finally opened the full folder the detective had left. She sat at the kitchen table and read every page, every document, every testimony from the other women. I saw her face change with every revelation. Denial turned into shock, shock into horror, horror into understanding. There was another pregnant woman, she said with a hollow voice. Emily. She lost the baby when he left. I sat across from her. I know me. I was thinking about having another child. David said it would be good for Lily that the family should grow. Her hands trembled on the paper. It was part of his plan, right? Another baby meant more money, more control. Probably. Sarah closed her eyes. I am so stupid. You are not stupid. You are human. You fell in love with who you thought he was, not with who he really was. How did I not see it? How did I not see anything? Because he is a professional. He has been doing this for years. He knows exactly how to manipulate, how to control, how to make everything seem normal until it is too late. Sarah took another page. It was the financial report, $42,000 in debts. I didn't know. $70,000 stolen from the house and all the money you gave gone. We are going to fix it. How? How do you fix this? Her voice rose in pitch. I have nothing. This house has a mortgage I can't pay. I have debts I didn't even sign for. My credit is destroyed. There are legal paths. The lawyer is already working on proving it was fraud, that you didn't know that he forged your signature. And meanwhile, how do I eat? How do I feed my daughter? I will help you. Sarah looked at me with eyes full of tears. I don't want more of your money. Your money was what got me into this. My money didn't get you into this. David did. I was just another victim of his plan. But if you hadn't paid so much, maybe he would have left sooner. Maybe it wouldn't have lasted 7 years. Maybe she was right. Maybe my generosity had prolonged the deception, but I couldn't change the past. I am sorry, I said. I am sorry for having been so blind. I am sorry for not having seen what he was before. I am sorry my help tied you to him for longer, Sarah cried. This time she let me hug her. She collapsed in my arms like when she was a child, like when she fell and ran to me to heal her wounds. I don't know how I am going to get out of this, Mom. Together, we are going to get out together. The next week, they brought Barbara. Sarah needed to hear from someone who had survived this, someone who had been exactly where she was now. They sat in the living room. Barbara took Sarah's hands. I know what you feel, the emptiness, the shame, the feeling that you were the biggest fool in the world. How did you get over it? One day at a time I cried, I got angry, I blamed myself. But eventually I understood it wasn't my fault. that he was the problem, not me. Your daughter, Emily, she is fine now. She is alive. She works. She has a small apartment. She still goes to therapy, but she is rebuilding her life. And the relationship with me was repaired. It took time, but we fixed it. Now we talk. We see each other. There is no longer that wall between us. Sarah looked toward where Lily was playing. I am afraid of not being able to give her the life she deserves. The life she deserves is one with a present and honest mother, not a mother trapped in lies, even if those lies come with money. You give her love. You give her truth. That is more than enough. After Barbara left, Sarah stayed quiet for hours. That night, when I put Lily to bed, Sarah came into the room. Mom, I need to tell you something. Tell me. I regret how I treated you. I regret excluding you. I regret the message. I regret everything. You were right about David, about everything, and I was so blind that I pushed you aside. It's over, my love. No, it's not over. I need you to know that I am sorry. I need you to know that during all those years when I didn't call you, when I canceled plans, when I kept you away, a part of me knew something was wrong. But it was easier to distance myself from you than to face that maybe I had made a mistake marrying him. He manipulated you. It is not your fault. But I hurt you, and that is my fault. I hugged her. I forgive you. I always forgave you. Even when it hurt, the following weeks were of slow reconstruction. The lawyer managed to prove fraud on the credit cards. The debts were eliminated from Sarah's record. The mortgage was more complicated. Sarah would have to sell the house. There was no way to pay for it alone. I am going to look for a small apartment. She said something I can pay with my nurse's salary. And meanwhile, can we, Lily and I stay with you just until I find something. This is your house. It always was. We packed Sarah's things, only the essentials, clothes, Lily's toys, photographs. We left everything else behind, everything David had touched, everything that was part of that fake life. The day they moved into my small apartment, Lily ran through the rooms, excited. I am going to live with Grandma. Yes, my love. Forever. For a while. Sarah and I shared my room. Lily had the small study I used to store things. We turned it into her space. We painted the walls light colors. We put her toys, her books, her small bed. It was tight. It was uncomfortable sometimes, but it was real. It was honest. It was true family. Sarah got extra shifts at the hospital. I kept working at the fabric store. Between the two of us, we covered expenses. There wasn't much left over. There were no luxuries. But there was peace. There was truth. There was unconditional love. One night, 3 months after the arrest, Sarah came into the kitchen where I was making dinner. Mom, I went to court today. And David, or Robert, or whatever he is really called, pleaded guilty in exchange for a reduced sentence, 5 years in prison. How do you feel? I don't know. I thought I would want to see him suffer more. But I just feel relief. 5 years without having to worry about him appearing. 5 years to completely rebuild my life. And after the 5 years afterwards, there will be a restraining order. He won't be able to get close to us. And by then, Lily will be older. I will be stronger. He will no longer have power over me. Sarah sat at the table. The lawyer says we might recover some of the money. Not all, but something. They are tracing accounts, hidden assets. The money doesn't matter. It doesn't matter to me anymore either. Before I thought money was security that I needed to have a lot to be okay. But now I know real security is different. It is knowing who you are. It is having real people by your side. It is living without lies. Lily came running in. Mommy, Grandma, look what I made. She was holding a drawing. 3 figures holding hands. Her Sarah and me. It is our family, she said proudly. Sarah hugged her. Yes, my love. This is our family. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Sarah and I sat on the small balcony of the apartment with hot tea. Thank you, she said. Why for not giving up on me? for saving me even though I didn't want to be saved, for being here now, even though I treated you so badly. You are my daughter. I'm always going to be here." Sarah put her head on my shoulder like when she was little, like when the world was simple and I could fix everything with a hug. "I love you, Mom. I love you too, my girl. I love you too." The stars shone over the city. The air was fresh, and for the first time in years, I felt my family was complete. Not because of money, not because of appearances, but because of something deeper, something real, something no David in the world could destroy. A year after David's arrest, I woke up early as always. I made coffee in the small kitchen I now shared with my daughter and granddaughter. I heard the sounds of the morning, Sarah getting ready for her shift at the hospital, Lily singing while she dressed for school. Normal sounds, real-life sounds. I sat by the window with my hot cup in my hands. The sun was starting to rise. The city was waking up slowly, and I thought of everything we had gone through to reach this moment of peace. Sarah came into the kitchen already dressed in her nurse uniform. She looked different now, thinner still, but in a healthy way. Her eyes had a clarity I hadn't seen in years. She no longer carried that invisible weight David had put on her shoulders. "Good morning, Mom." "Good morning, my love. Coffee, please." She sat in front of me. She took the cup I passed her and drank slowly. Outside, the world went on. But inside, in this small apartment, we had built something new, something that did not depend on lies or manipulation. "Today is the anniversary," Sarah said softly. "I know. A year since everything exploded. A year since the police took David away. A year since my life collapsed. And a year since you started rebuilding it." Sarah smiled, a small but genuine smile. "Yes, I guess it is that, too." Lily ran in with her backpack halfin. "Grandma, help me." I helped her with the straps while Sarah finished her coffee. These mornings had become our routine. Chaotic, noisy, but full of true love. "Ready for school?" I asked Lily. "Yes." "Today we are going to draw animals. What animal are you going to draw?" "A butterfly." "Because butterflies are pretty and can fly wherever they want." Sarah and I exchanged glances. Lily didn't remember much of David. She was so little when he left that her memory of him was fading. Maybe that was a blessing. Maybe it was better she didn't carry those memories. After dropping Lily at school and Sarah at the hospital, I went back to the apartment. I had the day off work. I sat down with a box I had kept for months without daring to open it. Inside were all the photographs of the last 7 years. Sarah and David at their wedding. Sarah pregnant with David, smiling next to her. Lily as a baby in David's arms. Christmases, birthdays, moments that seemed happy but that I now knew were built on lies. I looked at every photograph. I no longer felt rage. I no longer felt sharp pain. Just a soft sadness for the lost time, for the years David stole from us, for the family we could have been if he had never appeared. But I also thought about what we had gained. Sarah was now stronger than ever. She had gone back to studying. She was taking courses to specialize in her career. She had real friends, not friends approved by David, but women who truly supported her. And our relationship had transformed. There were no longer secrets between us. There were no longer walls. We talked about everything, about her fears, about her hopes, about the difficult days and the good days. The phone rang. It was Frank. "Margaret, I have news. Tell me." We recovered part of the money, not all, but we found an account overseas where David had hidden $43,000. The judge ordered it distributed among all the victims. Sarah's share is $12,000. $12,000. It wasn't everything lost, but it was something. It was justice, even if partial. Thank you, Frank, for everything. Don't thank me. This was teamwork. You were brave. Not many mothers would have done what you did. When I hung up, I called Sarah to give her the news. I heard her voice crack. $12,000. I can put a deposit on an apartment. We can have our own space again. There is no rush, my love. You can stay here as long as you need. I know, but I also know you need your space. You have been so generous, so patient. You deserve to get your life back too. My life is complete with you here, and ours is complete with you. But maybe it is time we find a new balance, a place nearby where we can visit each other every day, but where we also have our space. She was right. It was time to take the next step, not to move away, but to grow towards something new. That afternoon, after picking up Lily from school, the three of us went to walk in the park. Lily ran ahead, chasing pigeons. Sarah and I walked slowly behind her. "I have been going to therapy," Sarah said suddenly. "Yes, the hospital offers sessions for employees. I have been going for 3 months. It is helping me a lot, I am glad. The therapist says what I lived was abuse, not physical, but emotional. She says David isolated me systematically, that he destroyed my self-esteem, that he made me dependent on him for everything. How does that make you feel?" At first I got angry. I didn't want to be a victim. I didn't want to accept I had been so weak. But now I understand that recognizing the abuse doesn't make me weak. Getting out of it makes me strong. I hugged her as we walked. "You are the strongest woman I know. I learned from the best." Lily ran toward us. "Look, a flower." She was holding a wildflower she had plucked from the grass. Yellow and small, but in her hands, it looked like the biggest treasure in the world. "It is for you, Grandma, because you take care of me." I took the flower and felt something break inside me. Not from pain, but from something sweeter, from gratitude for this moment, for this child, for this second chance we had been given. That night, after putting Lily to bed, Sarah and I sat on the balcony as we had done so many times in the last year. "Do you know what is strangest?" she said, looking at the stars. "What, that I don't miss that life anymore. The big house, the new car, the appearances. I thought I would miss them. I thought I would feel less without those things. But I feel more real, more me. Because those things were never really yours. They were David's. They were part of his facade. And now I have things that are truly mine. My job, my career, my daughter, my relationship with you. No one can take them from me ever." Sarah stayed quiet for a moment, then she spoke with a soft voice. "Do you ever think about how things would have been if David had never appeared sometimes? Do you think we would have been just as close?" "Honestly, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe we needed to go through this to value what we have. It is an expensive way to learn a lesson. It is. But we learned it, and now, nothing can separate us again." Months passed. Sarah found a small apartment 3 blocks from mine, 2 bedrooms, small kitchen, but it was hers, paid with her money, earned with her effort. On moving day, we carried boxes between the 3 of us. Lily was excited to have her own room, to be able to paint the walls, the color she wanted, to have a space that was truly hers. "We are not going to stop seeing you," Sarah told me while we arranged the furniture. "I know 3 blocks is nothing. We are going to have dinner together twice a week, and Sundays we are always going to be together." That sounds perfect to me. That first night in her new apartment, Sarah called me. "Mom, Lily can't sleep. She says she misses your apartment. Do you want me to come?" "No, just can you talk to her on the phone?" I talked to Lily. I told her a story. I sang her a song. I heard her breathing become deep and calm. She fell asleep while I was still on the phone. "Thank you, Mom," Sarah whispered. "That is what I am here for." Now sitting here in my apartment that became just mine again, I think about the whole journey traveled, from that terrible message telling me to stay away to this moment of peace and rebuilding. I learned things I never wanted to learn. That love can be manipulated, that family can be destroyed from within, that the people we love most can be controlled by someone with bad intentions. But I also learned other things, that the truth always finds a way out, that true love survives even the worst storms, that it is never too late to save who you love. Sarah is fine now, better than fine. She is complete. She is whole. She is living an authentic life where every decision is hers, where every step is real. Lily is growing up in a home full of truth, where there are no dark secrets, where there is no manipulation, just honest love and unconditional support. And I have learned that being a mother is not just giving without measure. It is also knowing when to intervene, when to fight, when to risk everything to save your daughter, even if she doesn't want to be saved in that moment. David is in prison, Robert Vance, or whatever he is really called, far from us, unable to hurt us. And when he gets out in 4 more years, he will no longer have any power over this family, because we will have built something so solid that nothing can break it. Sometimes I think about the other women, Barbara, Emily, Tanya, all those who suffered before us. And I hope that somehow our case brought them some peace, some justice, something that tells them they were not crazy, that it wasn't their fault, that the monster was him, not them. The sun is setting now. Soon Sarah and Lily will come for dinner, like they do every Tuesday, like they will do every Tuesday for the rest of our lives, and we will sit together at this small table, and we will talk about our days, and we will laugh, and we will be family. Real family. Not family built on money or appearances, but family built on truth, on forgiveness, on love that survived the impossible. And if someone asked me if I would do it again, if knowing all the pain it would cause, knowing how my daughter would hate me in that moment, knowing how difficult the road would be if I would still call Frank, if I would still cooperate with the police, if I would still destroy the fake life Sarah believed she had, the answer is yes, 1,000 times yes. Because saving my daughter was worth every tear, every sleepless night, every moment of pain. And now sitting here with my cold coffee and the sunset painting the sky, I ask you, and you ever felt like they tried to erase you from your own story? That someone tried to take you out of the lives of the people you love, that you had to fight for a place that should have always been yours? If so, I want you to know something. You are not alone. Your pain is real. Your struggle is valid, and you deserve to be in the lives of the people you love, not as a source of money, not as a convenience, but as a complete human being who gives unconditional love. And if you ever have to choose between being loved and being respected, choose respect, because love without respect is manipulation, and you deserve both. The doorbell rings. Sarah and Lily are here. I can hear my granddaughter's laughter from the hallway, my daughter's voice calling me. I open the door, and there they are. My family, real imperfect, but completely ours, and that is all I ever wanted. Would you like me to generate a summary or key takeaways from this story to help you reflect on the themes of financial abuse and family resilience?